Okay, Trist, ready for your walk? Which way do you want to go? Hey, boo-boo, let's go. Off we go. Hi, everyone. I'm just out for a walk in the park with Tristan. He's in his nice orange coat today. And I've been thinking about the next recipe that I want to shoot, which is one of my sort of classic favorites, the French recipe steak au poivre, which means basically French for pepper steak. Whoa, okay, Tristan, sorry about that. You okay? He just slipped in a puddle, or the poodle slipped in a puddle. There generally seems to be an agreement that the recipe came about somewhere in the earlier part of the 20th century, somewhere around like 1910, 1920, and a couple of different chefs, claim to have originated it, but they all seem to agree that they created this recipe to satisfy their American customers, who they disdainfully claim drank too many cocktails before dinner and dulled their palates. So the idea of this peppery steak is to wake them up or give them something that they can taste through their alcohol-addled tongue. Let's go. So it's a recipe where you first crust the steak or coat the steak in black, green, and red peppers, and then sear it off, and then create a pan sauce made with Cognac or Brandy flambéed, very impressive. Then cream is added, and the sauce is reduced from the cream and all the tasty bits in the pan. I remember it as a recipe that you would order in fancy French restaurants, and it would be prepared tableside because they'd sear off the steak and then throw in the cognac, and it would create a great pillar of flame in the middle of the restaurant. Everybody would ooh and ah, and it was all, very fancy. But it's actually quite a delicious recipe, a great sort of date night recipe because it does have a nice sort of flashy element, and it ends up being absolutely delicious. So I'll show you how. Personally, I love the boneless ribeye steak for this recipe, although a sirloin or a filet mignon cut of the tenderloin are both traditional. Peppercorns, heavy cream, brandy, coarse salt, and unsalted butter. Combine around a tablespoon each of the black, pink, and green peppercorns, and then smash away. Have fun with it, it's great exercise. I like to use my mortar and pestle, although a pepper grinder on a coarse setting will work just as well. Sift out the peppercorn dust, which will burn if you sear it in the pan, but it can be used later on in the making of the sauce. Use a sharp knife to score through the fat at the edge of the steak. This will help it reduce and encourage a nice seared edge. I start by coating the steak with coarse salt and let it sit for about 10 or 15 minutes. After that, I brush that salt off the steak and pat it dry, which gives me a good dry surface, and that way when it goes into the pan, it sears rather than boiling. Now I'm ready to coat the steak with the coarse ground peppercorns and a bit more of the coarse salt, which will help in the searing. Press these into the surface of the steak so they adhere, and when we sear it, they form a nice solid crust. Start with a nice hot pan. I like to start by searing the edge of my steak, which melts down some of that fat cap and gets a nice seared flavor going in the pan. Now lay the steak down and start searing the surface. Cook the steak to around 125 degrees Fahrenheit and then pull it off the heat and set it aside. It will continue to heat inside to reach a nice medium rare doneness. Give a quick wipe just to clear out any burnt peppercorns that are left behind, and then you can deglaze the pan, pour in the brandy, and then light it up. Let the alcohol burn off, and then you can add in some butter, followed by the heavy cream. This can start to reduce, and you can season with a pepper mixture and salt as needed. As the sauce is reducing, make sure you scrape all those little bits of extra flavor off the bottom of the pan. Pepper for color. When the sauce has thickened enough to coat the back of a spoon, we're ready to plate. Spoon test coming. There's our beautiful steak.